Hi, folks. It's Larry Talks again. It's April 10th, 2016. It's about our 10th program. This is part two in, he says 9, my director. And it's part two of coming out. And I think it's one of the most important. I have original insight here about fundamentalism. And here's the headline. Fundamentalism is not Christian. There's no way it could be Christian. And the reason for that, now, how do I know this? I taught world religions for 33 years and studied fundamentalism in every religion. I studied to be a priest for 8 years in a seminary, and I am a practicing member of an Episcopalian church today in the last 10 years. So I basically memorized the Gospels. So the theme here, what do I mean by fundamentalism? Fundamentalism is the teaching that there are certain absolute things in the scriptures that are to be applied literally. Number one, that's the first part of the definition. The second part of the definition is why it can't be Christian and why all fundamentalism is irreligious. And that is that all forms of fundamentalism teach bigotry. To give you an example, in another religion, Hinduism, the caste system, something that goes way, way back and is outlawed by contemporary India, still it's a huge social problem because the last family names are in caste and people take that literally. Enlightened Hindus do not, but that doesn't stop the fundamental issue. And in the Old Testament, fundamentalism takes the form of the laws of Leviticus and Numbers. It's not enough that we have one book. We got 2 books of the laws, 2 versions of it. And in Christianity, of course, the idea that every word in the Bible is to be taken literally, which is totally psychotic. It's just doesn't make, and I'm going to show you why here now. The reason Christianity took over the Roman Empire is because of something St. Paul said, and it was truly the essential teaching of Christianity. We don't need the creed. I mean, we need it, but I mean, it's not the essence of what Christianity offered the world. And here's the line from St. Paul in his epistles. Before God, there is neither male nor female, slave or free. All are equal before God. That's the essential social teaching of Christianity. Bigotry has no place, never has, never will. So when someone tells you women are inferior, gays are inferior, blacks and migrants, and they are anti-Christian. It goes against the essence of Christianity. Another line in the prologue, and what I'm going to advise you to do is, you want to prove this for yourself, go read a gospel. Go read an entire gospel and you'll see there is no bigotry in it at all. None. So where do we get it? We get preachers who bring this junk into churches and they're bigots. And they impose this, they go find quotes and they use this. But the New Testament got rid of all these laws. The laws of Leviticus, that says gays are evil. And then St. Paul, just to show you, and then they always quote St. Paul, and he was condemning some kind of prostitution in the city of Corinth. And that's why that famous line, I'm not going to go there because it's meaning. I'm going to tell you why it's meaningless. St. Paul said what I just said. Before God, there is neither male nor female. That is the essential teaching, that all are equal before God. Slave, free, man, woman, everybody. Yet in another place he says, if you want to be a fundamentalist, the Bible literally says, women, be subject to your husband as the church is to Christ. Now, there you get your anti-feminist. Well, did Paul mean that literally? No, he didn't, because in another place he says, when I speak to Romans, I speak as a Roman. When I speak to Greeks, I speak as a Greek. I am all things to all men. That's hardly literalism. There is no literalism. And let's get back to another basic teaching of the New Testament. In the opening of the Gospel of John is this line. Well, the first line, it is a true light that enlightens every person that comes into the world. So every person is enlightened, number one. How are they enlightened? Later on in the prologue it says, the law was given through Moses, fundamentalism. It no longer applies. The law was given through Moses, grace and truth through Jesus Christ. What is grace? Grace is love, compassion, mercy, justice. Let me just point out two of the most famous passages of the whole New Testament. The Beatitudes. Blessed are the merciful, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are the poor, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. It's the idea of all people are equal, especially those who are in need. That's the true teaching of the Gospels, not bigotry of any kind. And the second one, I think, is really interesting. At the end of the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus comes at the end of the world. And by the way, the Muslims believe, and I have to point out to you a cartoon in today's paper. ISIS praises Bryant. Now, Governor Bryant signed an anti-gay law for signing religious freedom bill. Finally, somebody else gets ISIS. In other words, the fundamentalism of ISIS sees the fundamental of Christianity as something similar to their own. That's a joke, but nonetheless, there's truth in it. The idea that that ISIS kills people because they don't take the Islamic law literally. So that's the fundamentalism. We find it in every religion, and it's always bigoted. Obviously, ISIS is bigoted. They kill Christians. They kill other Muslims. The Gospel of Matthew at the end is near the end of the Gospel. And another thing about fundamentalism is there's this line. Jesus never spoke unless it was in a parable. It's always about parables, analogies, not literalism. But one thing that is literal is when Jesus comes to judge the world at the end of the world. And it says in Matthew 24, I think it is, 35, I don't know, somewhere around there. When the Son of Man comes in all his glory, he will say, come into the kingdom, for when I was hungry, you gave me to eat, and when I was thirsty, you gave me to drink, and I was in prison, you came to visit me. When I was naked, you clothed me. And they say, Lord, when did we do these things? If you did it to the least of my brethren, you did to me. And then to make it really clear, he says, go to hell, all you churchgoers. Not literally, but that's what he means, is all these people who kept the law, the fundamentalists, go to hell. For when I was hungry, you did not feed me. When I was naked, you did not clothe me. When I was in prison, you did not visit me. When I was naked, you did not clothe me. When didn't we do these things to you? If you did not do it to the least of my brethren, you did not do it to me. This is the essence of Christianity. The equality, and again, grace. Grace means compassion, mercy, justice, the love of God for all his creatures, and the love of us for one another. That's the essence of Christianity. Fundamentalism has no place. By that I mean literalism and bigotry. Bigotry is anti-Christian. It has no place whatsoever. And I recommend, there was one other thing I wanted to say. There's a beautiful thing and I'm going to end with this. We're almost done. Paul wrote a thing about love. If I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, but I do not have, and this is interesting, the word, the heart of Christianity, the most important word is agape. And it's translated, we hear it as charity. If I do not have charity, I am but a sounding brass and a tinkling cymbal. If I have faith to move mountains, but I do not have charity, it is nothing. The word is not charity. The word is agape, and it means the intention to do the loving thing in your heart. So this is the essence of Christianity, to have grace in your heart, and grace gets you to love God, love your neighbor. This is the whole law and the prophet, says Jesus, to love God with your whole heart and your whole mind and your whole soul, and your neighbor as yourself. That's the whole law and the prophet. He says, you don't need any law beyond that. Well, what is that? That is a law within yourself. It is the law of grace within yourself. That's the essence of Christianity. That's it. If you want to check this out for yourself, I recommend you read a gospel. Matthew and John are the fullest ones. Mark and Luke, they're okay too, but and Paul. But they all, I think you will find. I mean, how did I arrive at this as an adult? This idea, I arrived at it by reading the Gospels. I'm not reading propaganda. I'm not an atheist. So I recommend that you read a gospel and check this out for yourself. We are Moorman, MOORMANL, at AOL.com if you want to make a comment. We received several more comments on the last program than any other, which I thought was the least important and least original. This one is original. And I know it's controversial because people say, well, fundamentalists are Christians. They're not, because they do not believe the fundamental teaching of the Gospels of Jesus Christ, or they don't believe the fundamental teachings that made Christianity an historical religion, which is, and by the way, historically, everybody says this. Christianity took over the Roman Empire. Why? Because they believed that everybody was equal. Women were equal. Men were equal. Slaves were equal. High class, everybody. There was total equality. That's what the attraction of Christianity was in the beginning, as it has been throughout its history, and especially today. And then you go to the Constitution. How could we ever have slavery? Well, we had difficulty with that. Why? They said, well, because we're Christians. All right. It's because we betrayed our own Christianity, and over 200 years we've been fighting over this stuff about what does equality mean. And now we're doing this whole idea that gays are equal. That's our latest development. But don't you think they were equal before God all throughout the history? Now, I just want to end with this final thing about coming out. I do not understand how a parent can go to church and say, I believe in the Bible literally, throw their gay children, their transgendered, their transsexual, their transvestite children, throw them out in the street. There's something just so fundamentally wrong. You want to talk about fundamentalism. How would you go against the instincts of your parental nature to treat your children that way? But we have done that so much throughout the world. So that's, I have difficulty in seeing, and so my question is, why is it that people don't see this about Christianity? Why do people buy fundamentalism? Well, it's because they do not read their Bible, and they do not understand Christianity on its face value. On its face value, it teaches equality of all people. Their bigotry is, I mean, I just can't, I have to say in my entire lifetime, I've never heard a Christian say, oh yeah, slavery is a good thing. Women are inferior. Yeah, gays are not human beings. It's just, that's not Christianity. And yet that's what today in Mississippi, in North Carolina, they're passing laws to try and do this and say it's for religious reasons. Nothing could be further from Christianity. This is not Christianity. And I have to say, in praise of America, what is Christian influence in our Constitution is that very idea that all people are equal before God. Men, women, and it's taken us a long time to become really conscious of that, but it is the true gospel teachings. It's funny that Christianity taught it from the very beginning, and because it taught that that idea. It was so attractive throughout the Roman Empire. So that's it. Well, enough said. I recommend that you go read a read a gospel and see it for yourself. But I think that you can see from what I'm saying that Christianity does not teach bigotry of any kind, nor, in my experience of teaching world religions for 33 years, does any other religion. That doesn't mean fundamentalism doesn't exist in every religion, but it's always wrong. And boy, if you want to see a good example, let's just look at ISIS. You think Muslims buy that stuff, the ISIS view of Islam? No, they don't. I have never heard one. They're running. They're running out of the Middle East at millions of people at a time to get away from Islamic fundamentalism. It's not Islam any more than fundamentalism in Christianity is Christian. It's not. It's just not. And let me be very clear. What I mean by that is bigotry. Bigotry is never, ever taught by Christianity. Never. It's never, nowhere in its history. And you can't say authoritarianism and, sectarianism and so on. Yes, but doctrine stuff. But the central teaching of Christianity, the social teaching, is the equality of all people. Bigotry never, ever has had a place in the teachings of Christianity, nor in the scriptures. Unless you buy literalism, which the Bible itself doesn't buy. So, end of story. I've gone over time, I'm sure. And so I hope that everybody gains some comfort from this, that in terms of our election, Trump is a bigot. It will not fly. The latest figures in yesterday's paper is that only 19% of Americans would vote for Trump. I mean, why? Because he's a bigot. And Americans, I know we're tempted to say that we are, but we're not. Trump's made quite a case for bigotry. But even the Republicans are embarrassed to no end by it. And so I don't think Trump is going to be defeated and the Republicans are going to be defeated. And I predict that what will happen is the Republican Party will end. I mean, it's ironic that the Republican Party was founded by a non-bigot, by Abraham Lincoln. And what will happen in the future is, I predict, and I'm afraid of this in a way, Ryan will start. He will say, bigotry. I'm the candidate for president, and there will be no longer any bigotry in the Republican Party. If he rejects bigotry, it could change the whole election. I doubt that he will, although I think he's not a bigoted man, and I think but eventually, what's going to happen within the next 3 years is the end of the Republican Party as we know it, and and the first principle of whatever party replaces it will say we are not bigots. That's what I believe is going to happen, and the proof of this is in this morning's paper, that only 19% of Americans would say that they would vote for Trump. Only 19%. And in the Republican Party, he's got 33%, he's got the most votes. Yeah, well, what is that? It's a quarter of the Republican Party. It's only a quarter of the American electorate. We're not bigots in this country. 75% of people would not vote, have said that they would not vote for Trump or the other candidate. He's equally bigoted. So, I mean, so end of story. So that's irrelevant. So that's why this is so important. And as we say, on the gay front, coming out, because that's what this theme is, after the South lost the war, they reinstated laws because we have states' rights. States can make laws that are not. So we have an amendment in the Constitution that says, Whatever rights are not expressly given to the federal government are reserved to the states. So the states can make bigoted laws, but they cannot go against the Constitution. And the Constitution says all people are equal. Therefore, these laws that are being made now, the healthy thing is that we're rejecting them right away. Courts, judges, company, even huge amounts of businesses are saying we're boycotting these laws. We're boycotting these states that pass these laws that want to say that you can discriminate against gay people. That's happening right now in Mississippi, in North Carolina, in Georgia. The governor vetoed the law. And in South Dakota, those are the 4 states that have passed laws that saying bigotry is good. No, it's not good. It's number one, it's unconstitutional. And I have to say it's unconstitutional because in our history, it goes all the way back to the influence of Christianity on our Constitution, that all people are equal. And that's all I have to say. Think about these things. And I predict that the Republicans are going to get trounced in this election simply because my faith, if I have any faith, is that Americans are not bigots on the whole. Not on the whole. On the whole. And the data came out yesterday, 70% of Americans would not vote for Trump. And why? Because we're not bigots. And I know you'd say, oh no, he stands for other things. That's not the point. The point is that it's the bigotry that is the core of his teaching. It won't fly. It won't fly in America. It won't fly in the world. So good luck. See you next time. Next time the topic is going to be coming out at work. Now, it's going to be an interesting one too. Okay. See you next time.